Now, our good friend Karen Harvey. Take it away, Karen.
Good morning. What I want to do is first ask a question, and it relates very much to what Doc has been talking about, and that is, what is the most important thing that we would invest in our society? I think he answered it, our children and our grandchildren. We invest in a lot of things. We support and give money to a number of things, and our government must represent us in that regard. But what we're seeing today is education being defunded or reduced in funding over the last 10 to 35 years. When I went to school, I can tell you what my tuition was at the state university. How about you, Doc? What was your tuition? When
Well, I had a scholar incentive, so if I remember right, it was less than $500 a semester. So I'm going to say maybe like $300, something like that. It wasn't much.
Right. Well, the thing is, the state and the federal government did support universities, did take care of the costs. Now they have withdrawn that funding, and we're starting to blame the students. Well, they're not ready, whatever, the costs are too much, they're taking on debt that they shouldn't do, they should be smarter than that. It's not the kids' fault, it's our system. We've reduced our military budget from 51% of our total budget. It was 51%, now it's 48%. Where is that 3%? Did I do that right? 3%?
Yep.
Where's it going? Well, we do buy out, help the banks when they default. They criminally default, the big banks. We subsidize businesses and private industry and private institutions, but are we giving what we should? Do you know how many countries do not charge tuition for their public higher education institutions?
Well, I know Germany, I believe, and so I'm going to guess, I'll say maybe 4.
48. There are 48 countries in the world.
One number right.
48, and I can list them. They include, of course, Iran, and Russia, and Cuba, and Germany, and Italy, and Turkey, and Sweden, and Norway, and Venezuela, and Uruguay, and the United Arab Emirates, and Poland, and Peru.
Goodness.
It goes on and on and on. Malta, Kuwait, Ireland. How about that? Ireland's
Hey,
a good place
there
to
you
go.
There you
Greece, Pakistan. But proportionately, as we defund our universities, we end up funding prisons. Wonder why? Well, education has something to do with that, and so does our economy. Our economy, our national defense are going to depend on having the right results from education, and I'm not just talking about higher education. All education is being defunded. It is definitely a drag on our entire economy, and the youth of today cannot get a financial footing. They can't buy homes, they can't start a family or cars, and this all has an impact. This past week there was a piece of legislation defeated by the Republicans called the Bank on Students Emergency Funding Act, spearheaded by Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. And what she said was, let's reduce the interest that these people are paying. Do you know what our government charges our children? Interest for borrowing money to go to school?
Well, it's probably higher than the dividends we're making on our savings right now. So if I remember right, I was thinking it was like 6%, but I don't know what the current rate is. What is it?
It is 7%.
What?
All she proposed, 7%. We are cannibalizing our own youth by charging our government, the people that represent us, 7%. We're going to make
you can get a car for
66
1.99% at the credit union.
Right, if it was competitive, but most of these loans are issued by the government. So they're going to make $66 billion off the student loans in the recent 5 years, over this 5-year period. Senator Warren calls this obscene, and I agree with her. I call it cannibalism of our own children, as Saturn ate his children in the Goya painting. She wanted to propose that we reduce it retrospectively to 3.6%, 3.68% is what it was. And they defeated it. Well, of course, that would be a little bit more out of the big budget, take the 3% from defense, I say, but what she said was, let's enforce the tax rate for the rich. They really should pay 30%. Well, let's enforce that. And we can recoup this money in no time. So anybody over $1 million income should pay 30%. Well, that was soundly defeated by the Republicans.
No, dear.
So what we do is we say we prefer to subsidize the rich rather than the students who well deserve it. Our society deserves what we expect, which is an investment in our own future. I'd say our national defense, our crime prevention, and our economic prosperity depends on us really pushing for this. It will come up again, and I think it's an important thing to support.
And that's a shame. And you're absolutely right about the other countries. We visited, as you know, with many of the countries, and especially in Germany. But they've got a little different. They sort of got it right, in my mind. If you don't want to go to college, they will put you into a vocational school. And I can't remember the exact name for it, but it's a vocational school, and they push you along that track. And for those that go on to the higher university, if you mess up, you're gone. It's not like you get a second chance. You got to keep up your grades. It's free, but the parents have to pay room and board. But the actual university now is free. So I mean, it seems to make sense, doesn't it?
Well, why is it that those countries can afford to do that?
I have no idea how it's working.
Well,
but
I'll tell you one reason, and that is because they don't put 50% or 45% now into military.
Yeah.
It's not productive. It's destructive. Those countries, we have more money in military investment in our military budget than all the other countries in the entire world. So they don't waste their money. I mean, Russia put $69 billion into its military. We put $600 billion. Do you think we could defeat them if they showed their missiles
Well,
with a little less money?